Under the bright studio lights of the Today Show, the air buzzed with that lively, early morning energy only a massive live broadcast could create. Producers darted around like bees in an overworked hive, adjusting cables, checking cue cards, whispering into headsets. The warm chatter of the audience blended with the hum of equipment, forming a kind of chaotic harmony. And at the center of it all, gliding toward the set with poise and practiced perfection, was Gwen Stefani. Her silver jacket shimmered with every step. Her platinum hair, tied high and tight, swayed in a sleek arc behind her. As she appeared from backstage, the audience erupted, clapping and cheering as if welcoming royalty. Gwen flashed her signature smile, the kind that could light up a stadium, and waved with genuine excitement. She loved what she did, loved performing, loved connecting, loved bringing joy. Morning shows were usually easy, breezy conversations, quick laughs, positive vibes, no drama. At least, that's what she expected. She took her seat on the studio couch, crossing one leg gracefully over the other. The host, a familiar morning TV face with a polished grin, welcomed her warmly. "Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Gwen Stefani." The crowd roared again, and Gwen chuckled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Thank you, I'm so happy to be here," Gwen said brightly. The interview began smoothly. They chatted about her Vegas residency, her fashion line, her new music. Gwen, relaxed and animated, gestured with her hands as she talked. She joked about balancing motherhood and deadlines, teased the fun arguments she and her team had over music video concepts, and even poked fun at her iconic red lipstick obsession. The audience laughed along, loving every second. Everything felt right, everything felt normal, until the host shifted in her seat. There was a subtle change, barely noticeable unless you were paying attention. Her smile tightened, her posture straightened. She flipped to a new cue card, one she hadn't touched yet. Behind the cameras, two producers exchanged quick looks. One raised an eyebrow, another mouthed silently, "Here it comes." Gwen didn't catch any of that. She sat there, still smiling, still glowing, waiting for the next question. Then the host delivered it. "So, Gwen," she began slowly, almost casually, "some critics online are saying your new sound feels," she paused for dramatic effect, "a little outdated. That maybe you're struggling to stay relevant in today's music scene. What do you say to that?" The words landed like a slap. Gwen blinked. Her smile faltered, not a full collapse, just a small, startled crack. The kind of expression people get when they're blindsided, the kind they try to hide immediately. "Oh," Gwen said softly, trying to recover, "Wow, I didn't expect that this morning." The audience murmured, not loudly, just a ripple of discomfort. Gwen sat up straighter, placing her hands on her lap, still trying to keep things light. Well, I've been doing music for a long time. I love evolving. I love creating. But the host cut her off. "Do you ever feel like your best years were in the early 2000s? That maybe you're trying too hard to recreate that era instead of moving forward?" Gwen stared, stunned. Even the studio cameras shifted awkwardly, zooming in too slowly, like they weren't sure whether to capture the moment or look away. She inhaled slowly. "I'm not sure why you're phrasing it like that," she said, voice strained but controlled. "I'm proud of my past, but I'm also excited about what I'm doing now." The host nodded, but her expression didn't soften. If anything, she leaned in further. "But do you think the public still connects with what you're doing? Or is this more about holding on to something that's slipping away?" The last word stung. They hung in the air like smoke no one wanted to breathe in. Gwen's jaw tightened. Her eyes flicked toward the producers behind the cameras, searching, questioning, silently asking what is happening right now. But they avoided her gaze. Some looked down at their clipboards. Others pretended to adjust equipment. Only a few looked back at her with wide eyes that said, "We didn't plan this either." Gwen faced the host again. "Okay," she said slowly, "I'm honestly confused. Is this an interview, or is this a setup?" The audience gasped. Even the host seemed momentarily thrown off. No, not a setup," she said quickly. "Just asking honest questions. People are talking. People are always talking," Gwen interrupted, the first hint of heat in her tone. "But this feels, I don't know, targeted." The host raised her cue card defensively. "These are standard questions. Nothing personal. Nothing personal," Gwen repeated, letting out a soft, incredulous laugh. "You just implied my career is over." Backstage erupted the moment Gwen vanished behind the curtain. The studio lights still glowed hot on the empty couch she had just left, casting a strange, hollow glow over a set that seconds ago had felt full of energy. Now it felt like a ghost town. Producers stormed toward each other, headsets buzzing with frantic voices. Assistants sprinted in opposite directions, clipboards rattling in their hands. It was as if the entire backstage ecosystem had been jolted by an earthquake no one saw coming. Meanwhile, Gwen moved quickly down the hallway outside the set, her heels clicking hard against the polished floor. Each step echoed with the weight of everything she had just felt: humiliation, anger, disbelief. Her chest felt tight, not from the walk but from the confrontation she never expected on what was supposed to be a simple morning show appearance. A young production assistant jogged behind her, breathless. "Gwen, Ms. Stefani, wait, please." Gwen didn't stop. She didn't even look back. Her pace stayed firm, steady, fueled by an emotional momentum that had built the moment those pointed questions started. Her second manager, Dana, finally caught up, gently touching Gwen's arm. "Hey," she said softly, "just slow down for a second." Gwen halted, exhaling sharply. She turned, her eyes bright with anger and confusion. "Dana, what was that?" she demanded. "They went for my throat. On live TV." Dana nodded, her expression sympathetic. I know, I'm so sorry. They didn't tell us about those questions." "Not a word." Gwen shook her head, scoffing under her breath. "It felt like a setup. Like they wanted to embarrass me." Before Dana could respond, one of the show's senior producers, a sharply dressed woman with a headset still dangling around her neck, rushed toward them. Her footsteps were fast, panicked, hands raised as though approaching a wild animal she hoped not to spook. "Gwen," the producer said in a breathless rush, "please, can we talk?" Just for a moment. Gwen crossed her arms. "Talk? About what?" "The ambush you guys sprung on me." The producer winced. "We didn't mean for it to come across that way." The host was improvising. The questions weren't meant to offend. Gwen's expression hardened. "Asking if I'm irrelevant isn't offensive." Dana stepped in, voice cool and controlled. "You should have cleared those questions with us." Gwen was blindsided. The producer nodded rapidly. "You're right. You're absolutely right. We take responsibility for the miscommunication." The network wanted something more, attention-grabbing. They pushed new cards in last minute. The host wasn't supposed to phrase it like that. Gwen blinked slowly, absorbing the explanation. It didn't make her feel any better. "So the network wanted a viral moment," she said quietly. "And I was the bait." "No," the producer insisted, shaking her head. "That's not what we intended." Gwen raised an eyebrow. "But that's what happened." Before the producer could continue, the show's host appeared in the hallway, looking shell-shocked. She approached cautiously, her usually bright demeanor replaced by a mix of embarrassment and fear. "Gwen," the host said, her voice small, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to sound like that." Gwen's eyes narrowed. "You asked if I peaked 20 years ago." The host swallowed hard. "I know, I shouldn't have. They added the questions during the show. They told me to push harder. I didn't think." She stopped, struggling for words. "I was trying to do my job. But I crossed a line. I know that." Gwen said nothing at first. Dana rested a hand gently against Gwen's back, as if grounding her. Finally, Gwen spoke, her voice low but steady. "I've been in this business my whole life. I've had tough interviews, hard questions, but what you did out there wasn't curiosity. It was disrespect." Tears welled in the host's eyes. "I know, and I'm so sorry." But Gwen was past the point of comfort. "I'm not going back out there," she said clearly. "Not for a fake apology. Not for a forced feel-good moment. I'm done." The producer took a step forward. "Gwen, please, if you don't return for at least a brief closing segment, the network will spin this however they want. It'll make things worse." Gwen shook her head. "Nothing can make that interview worse." Dana backed her. "We're leaving. This conversation is over." Gwen turned away and resumed walking down the hall, but now the tension felt heavier. Staff members stepped aside as she passed, eyes wide, some whispering behind their hands, others simply watching in stunned silence. A videographer briefly lifted his camera, then lowered it immediately when Dana shot him a glare sharp enough to cut glass. As Gwen neared the exit, she slowed. Her breath shook with the emotions she'd been holding in. She wasn't angry in the explosive way tabloids like to paint celebrities. It was deeper, more wounded. She felt exposed, like she'd shown up ready to be joyful and open, only to be attacked when her guard was down. She paused with her hand on the door. Dana stood beside her. You okay? She asked gently. Gwen nodded,